Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Lauren Brychell. Thanks for being on the show, Lauren.
Hi, Whitney. Thanks for having me.
Fusing traditional and unconventional methods to market not so glamorous asset classes, Lauren has overseen the marketing efforts for Spartan Investment Group's properties and corporate company to bring brand awareness and increase occupancy across the board. Her experience includes building brands from the infancy stages, launching new product lines, and advertising. Lauren graduated from Belmont Abbey College with a bachelor's degree in business management with a concentration in marketing and a minor in entrepreneurship. Lauren, thank you again for your time and being on the show. Grateful to have you. Your expertise is needed in any business, right? It doesn't matter if it's real estate or what it is. We have to increase our brand awareness and think about how we are presenting ourselves to our future clients or customers and how to find them. But grateful again for your time. You give us a little more of your background and maybe what you're doing at Spartan, and let's dive into your superpower and you know how you can help us and the listener to accomplish the same goals that you're doing for Spartan.
Sure thing. Thanks, Whitney. So I grew up in Palm Beach, Florida, and I played golf all my life, which eventually took me to Charlotte, North Carolina, where, like you said, I went to Belmont Abbey College and studied marketing and entrepreneurship. Right after I graduated, I built a brand for a light extraction technology, so a tech startup, and I brought that product to market. And I then went into the CBD oil industry, which was a totally different change for me. From there, I did lots of different roles, from national advertisement placements. I launched a pet oil brand. I oversaw our influencer marketing. So all kinds of great experience there. And then I had always had an interest in commercial real estate. So after my time at the CBD oil industry was kind of, after I launched the brand and I was kind of looking for the next thing to do, I really wanted to move to Denver, Colorado, where I found Spartan, and the rest is history. So here at Spartan, I oversee all of our corporate marketing and property level marketing. So we have 11 assets under management right now. So I oversee all of that. And like I said, corporate, so anything from events, advertising, social media, website, everything like that. So communications is a big one. Yeah.
What's that? What's the last part?
Communications, our monthly communications.
Yes. No, that's awesome. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot to take hold of and manage, no doubt about it. Let's just jump right in a little bit to let's say on the corporate side, and just how, maybe some daily activities that you're doing that the listener and I should be doing as well, just to increase brand awareness, or some tips that you have for us.
Sure. So I would say the most important thing these days is social media. So we post daily on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We post things that really engage the audience, such as people and team posts. We do property posts, construction updates, things like that our investors and our potential investors really love to see. So that's something we do every single day. Like I said, we do monthly communications of all of our property updates and how the properties are doing, the performance, the occupancy, any sort of marketing updates that we've done. And then we're always updating our website, keeping it relevant, looking for other advertising opportunities. Scott Lewis, our CEO, does a lot of speaking, or Scott and Ryan both do a lot of speaking engagements and podcasts, webinars, and masterminds. So making sure those are out for the world to see.
Nice. Well, and the listeners probably know that name, or Spartan Investment Group, especially Scott and Ryan. The entire team, I think, has been on the show at one time or another, and now Lauren as well. So, let's dive into a couple of those things you mentioned just a little bit more. When you think about, or when somebody thinks about a daily post, obviously we do numerous daily posts as well, for our group. But however, when you're first getting started, I mean, just making the first post can seem like so daunting, right? Mm-hmm. Just stepping out there. But just creating content can seem like a mountain to climb, right? When you first get started. Well, any tips on like how you all come up with content that you could help the listener kind of get past that hurdle?
Sure. I would say don't ever be afraid to kind of see what your competitors are doing and others in the market just for inspiration. We having 11 assets under management right now, it's pretty easy to come up with content. We're doing construction at this property. We have a couple ground up developments. There's always things going around, renovations, new paint. So that's always exciting. Like I said, our team is always doing speaking engagements and stuff like that. So we always post that for the world to see. But yeah, like I said, don't be afraid to kind of see what other people in the industry are doing. I mean, that's a great way to get started.
What skill sets do you need to be able to do that, or do you outsource some of those things? If Scott speaks at an event, you have that. Let's say you have that recording. Are you then doing everything to make that happen? Are you hiring some of that out? What does that look like to manage that and make that happen?
A little bit of both. So I have a VA in the Philippines that helps me out with some graphic design stuff. I do a lot of it myself. And then we also do have a graphic design company as well as the VA to help with certain things, such as in our websites and our infographics and sometimes our presentations. But we use a lot of different platforms such as Wave for our podcast posts, Canva for some easy graphic design things, Hootsuite for posting and scheduling posts. So kind of a mix. Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's jump into the investor updates. That's something obviously we do on a monthly basis as well, sometimes more often depending on what's happening. But any tips on, like that level of communication is so important. Every investor call that I have, everybody's so concerned with communication, and our investors love getting that update, and usually more detail, the better. But I wonder, anything that you all found that investors have just loved, that you all have put in there.
Sure. So, our number one thing is being transparent. So even if the property didn't perform as well as we would have liked it to that month, just keeping it transparent and having a solution to how we're going to fix the issue. That is our number one thing. I would say number two is investors really love seeing the effort that you're putting into the properties. So if we did a huge billboard marketing campaign, we always put a picture of the billboard in there. They love to see the active things that we're doing and exactly an example. So if we do and Facebook ad, maybe putting an example of that Facebook ad in there just so they can see exactly kind of what we're doing.
Nice. As far as what's your all's frequency? Is it monthly as well for investor updates?
It is. Yep.
So now let's move. You talked about like updating the website, and a lot of the listeners may have a website now, they may not. But any tips or things that you've found? When do I need to update a website, and when should I be thinking about revamping it completely or adding more things?
Sure. So we just did a big revamp, I believe, early this year, which took us probably 4 or 5 months to actually get around to completing because it's such a big process. So I would say, monthly updates are pretty important. So like I said, we always have new engagements, new articles coming out. Putting those on your website on a monthly basis is important. If your assets under management change or you add things to your portfolio, that should be updated immediately. We were just awarded a placement on the Inc. 500, so that went up there immediately as well. So yeah, monthly is definitely good to keep an eye on things.
Is that a skill set that you have or something that's in-house or something that you hire out?
A little bit of both. So we hired out the overall design of the website. And then I do the monthly updates and things.
Okay.
Yes.
So as far as that brand awareness, and I wanted to back up a little bit for the listener who's just getting their syndication business started. Maybe you could provide some tips to it'll say they don't even have a logo yet or name or but they're headed that direction. Any tips on just some first steps there to get their ball rolling? Whether it's logo, that's just kind of overwhelming too. At first, even before we ever have any content, how should we think about branding ourselves?
Sure. I would say branding is extremely important. So I would even go ahead and say hire a third-party company to do your branding. It might cost $5,000 to $10,000, but that's going to be so worth it to have a beautiful logo, everything matching, all your style guides consistent with everything they're putting out there. Just so when people see your brand, they can start recognizing it and it looks professional. And you really looks like you have, all your things in a row there. So,
yeah, Can you would you just highlight maybe a day in your position, and or maybe if somebody like myself or someone else is hiring somebody that for this marketing position, what should we be looking for? What are the skill sets that person definitely needs to have to be successful in your role?
Sure. Well, I would definitely hire someone with a vast background of marketing different types of things. Every industry has different things that they need to market to be successful. So I think having a background of, marketing CBD and tech products really comes together to be able to market a different asset class. Like, okay, let's use some things, billboards from here and national ad placements from here, and they all tie together. I would say having an overall understanding of SEO and a little bit of website design experience, a little graphic design experience is also helpful, just so you don't have to outsource everything. And then obviously social media, being able to tell what time of day to post, what types of posts really get engagement, what people like to see is really important.
Gene Trowbridge and Jonathan Ney, founding partners of the top syndication firm Trowbridge Law Group, LLP, have a legal team with over 50 years of combined experience in real estate syndication and the practice of real estate securities law. Over this time, Gene and his partners in several past firms and currently have helped clients raise close to $5 billion in offerings by empowering entrepreneurs to raise capital legally. To learn more about Trowbridge Law Group, LLP, visit their website at trowbridgelawgroup.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. How do you communicate with the team to be able to retrieve this content? Or I'm sure there's team members that probably don't create much content, or do you try to get content from them? How do you educate them and just communicate about what you need to be successful at marketing their brand?
Sure. So actually, we just implemented this all the properties to have our property management help me do the marketing for everywhere that's local down in Texas, since they have a better understanding of things that are going on in the community. So we put together a whole style guide and a whole marketing binder of things. Like, this is the kind of look that we're going for. Here are some examples. Here's the kind of, captions that you should be writing. Put together everything that you'd like, style guides, fonts, colors, everything, so that they kind of have an example of what you're looking for.
So on the property level, just make sure I understand, on the property level, your management group there, of course, and those people are also employees of Spartan. Is that right? If I remember correctly?
Yep, we do all of our own management in-house.
Yes. So, okay. So that may be a little different if you had third-party management. It may not be as easy to get them to help with this, but maybe, depending on your relationship there. But so ultimately you laid out a process. Is that right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is exactly what we're looking for, and you're encouraging them to create content and then send that to you?
Exactly. Yep. I encourage them to create it, send it to me for approval, or if they need any design help, and then we go from there. I also encourage them to do a monthly posting calendar to kind of write out what they want to do in a month, just so there's kind of a flow to it, and it keeps it easier for them to have ideas.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about those properties a little bit. I know you also have some great skill sets as far as marketing these asset classes and keeping them full and with a low budget and things like that. Mm-hmm. Let's jump into keeping them occupied and what you all have done to advertise.
Sure. So we've done everything from billboards to radio ads to Facebook Marketplace postings. A lot of free things that we like to do would include Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, just putting a really low-cost Facebook ad targeting that specific area. We have all kinds of data on all of our customers, so we can target specific neighborhoods and blast to their neighborhoods like, hey, storage is really close by, here's a free month, or, whatever we're deciding to do. We've also done local newspapers, and we've talked about doing little restaurant. Some restaurants have those like printed out papers on the placemats or whatever. So we talked about doing that. I mean, the ideas are endless. So
nice. Let's go back to, you said like data on customers. How do you collect that data?
Sure. So we have an in-house, Lindsay Lewis is our director of business intelligence. She has all sorts of systems, including Alteryx, and she has Tableau to make all kinds of graphs and stuff. So she collects all the data for us. We pretty much just tell her what we need and she finds it. So for example, we have a boat storage outside of Fort Worth. And one day I wanted to send a mailer to every boat registration in the area. So she was able to pull that info quickly. We sent a mailer out, and then that was that. So
nice. And you mentioned like you get that data on your customers and even advertising to their neighbors. How do you do that?
Sure. So like I said, I mean, we just get the exact zip code of where they're at, even down to the street address, and we just paying a Facebook ad, for example, right into that geo-targeted area.
Nice. Do you all have somebody on staff that will do Facebook ads as well, or is that something you can hire out?
That's all me, actually.
Good.
Yep. All the Facebook ads, Instagram ads, we do Google ads on everything, and also YouTube ads.
Okay. So what about, mobile home park versus self-storage, different types of advertising?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the two RV parks we have are in West Texas. So there's not a ton out there. They're out in the oil fields. So that one we've done a lot of radio ads for, actually. People are always driving around town. There's not a lot of places to put billboards or anything. So radio ads have been big there, and also targeted Facebook ads. Also down there, corporate customers are a big thing with the oil companies. So we'll go directly to the oil companies and say, hey, we have a discount for corporate housing if you bring in a group of 10. So that's been really successful for us.
Radio ads. That's probably the first time I've heard of that, but it just shows though you need to know your market, right? What's working there,
yes.
and how you're going to connect with your customers. It's so interesting. Mm-hmm. Anything else as far as marketing on the property level or for the corporate side that you want to share with us before we move to a few final questions?
Sure. I would say it's really important to have boots on the ground at whatever property you're trying to market, because you can easily miss an opportunity if you're not there in the community, seeing, what's going on, the events happening. If there's a school nearby, sponsor the sports team, for example, leave your flyers for self-storage at an apartment building across the street. So I would say it's really important to just see exactly what you're dealing with right up close.
What's a way that you've improved your business or the marketing side of Spartan recently that we can apply to ours?
Sure. So we've really been focusing on the branding. So, a lot of people, we've sent out surveys to our current customers. It's like, how did you find out about us? How did you choose us? A lot of people said, location, or they just noticed our branding and they kept seeing it. So kind of keeping top of mind is really important. So
that survey, what do you do with that information then? Let's say, numerous people say, okay, they saw you this way or they like this about you. Can you give us an example and what you did with it?
Sure. So a lot of people who said location was the reason they picked it. It's probably because the storage facility was close to their house, which means that we should definitely be geo-targeting just within 5 miles. So that really helped us out. Yep.
What about on the investor side? Do you ever do a survey on your investor base to help, grow that side as well?
Not necessarily surveys. We do ask investors when we have a call with them, like, how'd you hear about us? A lot of times it is on podcasts or they'll see our website, or it's just a referral. So we actually don't do really any paid advertising for the corporate side right now.
Okay. What about the number one thing, Lauren, that's contributed to your success?
The number one thing, like I said earlier, I think it's just my vast background of marketing different products and asset classes. I mean, you really have to think outside of the box for some of these things, and having that cross experience really helps.
And how do you like to give back?
I like to give back actually educating my peers. I would say a lot of people my age don't really understand anything about investing or passive investing, or that they need to be investing for their future. So I really like to educate my friends and family on, how to better their future.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Lauren, I'm grateful for your time and just your willingness to share what you're doing for the Spartan team there. And you're definitely an expert in this field, or they wouldn't have hired you. I know those guys well. So grateful for your time. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Sure. So you guys can email me at lauren@spartan-investors.com.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.